Right, so it's literally the day after the playoffs final when Southampton got promoted back to the Premier League. If you want proof, can you see that's 27th of May? You probably can't. But yeah, it's 27th of May. I'm a little bit hungover, I must admit, but can't really blame me. I'm a Leeds fan. What do you expect? So I'm literally doing my 2024-25 Premier League predictions video right now. Before I start, I must give a disclaimer. There's no like confirmed transfers or anything. You know, this is literally the day after the playoff final, so literally fuck all has happened since then, other than me drinking. So some of these I'll have like no reasoning for. Some of these might come to a surprise to you, but we'll see, won't we? So I'm gonna work my bottom half of the table and work my way up. So if I stand here, my table can go there. So 20th. I put Bournemouth. I mean, they have had a few games. I reckon what's going to happen is they're going to have a decent start of the season and then they're going to start flopping around bonfire night time. So, yeah, I think the start of the season will be decent. They might win a few games and then just from there, I reckon it will go downhill. So that's Bournemouth. Moving on. 19th, I've got Southampton. I mean, a newly promoted team. They came 4th in the Championship last season, and they just happened to beat us 1-0, which is stupid, but it is what it is. Again with Bournemouth, I reckon they'll have a decent start, and then I reckon around 2025, the second that year happens, I think Southampton I don't think they'll lose a lot of games, but I think they'll start drawing a lot more, and as a result, some of the other teams will start winning, so they'll get progressively higher than Southampton throughout the season. But for me, Southampton will go up, and then they'll get relegated again. We'll have to see, won't we? 18th, I've got Fulham. It's quite hard to judge with Fulham, you know. They can have their good days. They'll have their bad days, which wouldn't come as a surprise to some, like most people, I think, anyway. So yeah, I think Fulham will get into 17th and 16th, and then they'll drop back down to 18th. You know, they'll go up a couple of positions, and then they'll just drop back down again to the relegation zone. So yeah, Fulham 18th. Come at me. 17th, Brentford. Again, they're not one of them teams that are like, if they go down, it won't be much of a surprise. You know, I think they'll do the complete opposite to what I reckon Bournemouth and Southampton will do. Well, I think they'll have a bad season to start off with, and then they'll, again, I think come 2025 time, they'll start getting progressively better. Not like world class quite, but more like, they might win a couple of games, draw quite a lot, then start winning again. And then maybe come to the end of the season, they'll have a time where they don't lose for maybe 10 games or so, I don't know. But I think Brentford and Fulham will fight over that 17th position to stay out of the relegation zone. Along with 16th, which I put Everton in. Everton have a thing when it comes to escaping relegation. They've done it for like 4 years on the bounce. I remember when Reed got relegated, not last season, the season before, got relegated to the Championship, and I think Everton just had to lose or maybe even draw to like go down. I can't remember the details as such, but that Corey strike to keep them up kind of fucked us over a bit there. But yeah, at the end of the day, Everton will get to a point where they did well this season. They've come like, was it 15th or something like that? But yeah, Everton aren't that kind of team that are in like the top 10. Like, they're not in the top half of the table at all, really. So I think bottom half is fair, but they've had a reputation of like escaping relegation at the end of every season. So I reckon they'll do it again. So yeah, 16th Everton. 15th, Nottingham Forest. I mean, it's hard to judge with them. Again, like, they haven't got the best team in the world, really, but they always manage to find a way to escape relegation like Everton do. But I reckon Nottingham Forest have more, like, I mean, I might be completely wrong here, so sorry. But I think with Forest, they've got a better game plan than Everton. You know, Everton have these games where they have some sort of plan. It doesn't work at all, and then they kind of like, they might just stick to that plan because they haven't got any other plans in, like, in their back pockets, you know. I think Forest have more of a game plan. Like, Forest are better than Everton, fuck off. 14th, I've got Wolves. I reckon what will happen is they'll have a lot of games where they'll concede like a last minute like winner, or they'll be winning like the 90th minute and then they just concede a goal and the match ends up in a draw or a loss. See, I think Wolves might be winning for like most of the games, and then come like injury time or stoppage time, whatever, that's when they'll start flopping. I think Wolves might be the team that concedes the most in the 90th minute. 13th, I've got Ipswich. They are pretty class, I cannot lie. I mean, we all doubted them at the start of last season with the whole, like, they got promoted to Championship at the end of last season, and now they're getting promoted back in the Premier League. Like, that's some achievement, that is. And they just, like, when you watch them play, they're so entertaining to watch. You know, it's like, they know what sort of, like, they know their plans, they got tactics, and they use them very well. Ipswich, though, I reckon Ipswich will have wins against the big teams like Spurs and Man United and Chelsea. But I think they're going to be one of them teams that, like, they're too casual against the lower teams. Like, the teams are on, like, the lower half of the table, so then they'll go easy on them. But then they'll end up losing still, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I think Ipswich might beat the good teams, and then start losing, or maybe even drawing to the worser teams. I've got West Ham in 12th. No particular reason, because it's like nearly mid-table. It's kind of like, West Ham aren't a bad team. We can all admit that, right? But they haven't got the best of players. It's one of those sort of teams. It's like, I think with some teams, it comes to a point where you might have to maybe give them a couple more seasons to, like, progress and improve. You know, I think West Ham have those sort of players that are like, they're not world class just yet, but I reckon maybe even next season or the season after, that's when they'll start to improve a lot more, I reckon. So yeah, West Ham 12th. And I've got 11th to be Aston Villa. Again, with like every other team I've said, they are pretty world class. They are a decent team. But I have beliefs that they might get to a stage where they'll just, like, fall apart. I reckon they might pick up too many injuries, so then their reserves have to come in, who haven't had much experience. And I think that's the point where they're going to start losing their grip a bit. So yeah, I'll put Villa 11th. Mid-table, at least not getting relegated. 10th, Man United. I do think Ten Hag has been sacked now. But there's a lot of people saying, like, oh, Ten Hag has been sacked, and then there's other people saying, like, in, like, a video of Ten Hag in an interview, in the title, it's got in speech marks saying, I'm staying, whether you like it or not, or something cringe and cheesy like that, but, Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to explain with Man United. Like, you would expect Man United to be one of the top teams in the Premier League, and then they came, where did they come? Did they come 8th or something? Yeah, I reckon there'll be a stage where they'll go on a losing streak. They'll stay up, but I think they'll have a decent start, go on a losing streak mid-season, and then bring it back up near the end of it. So yeah, there's not really any explanation behind that. It's mid-table. Like, you can't really explain very much on that one. 9th, we got another newly promoted team in Leicester. Again, Leicester, they're actually pretty... It's like fucking... I sound like a broken record. Decent team. Pretty much in there. If you've watched the Championship last season when they got promoted, there's a reason they got promoted. They were 10 points clear at front of everyone around Christmas time. 10 whole points. They were literally 10 points ahead when they won the fucking Premier League title, like, 8 years ago. Like, 8 years ago. I just said that out loud. But yeah, I think Vardy's going to have a party. I wouldn't be surprised if Jamie Vardy was top scorer, or maybe in, like, the top 5 top goal scorers, because, you know, you also got, like, Haaland, League 2, isn't he? But yeah, obviously, there are players in the Premier League who have got more of a chance of being top goal scorer than Jamie Vardy, but I reckon Vardy will be up there. Top 5. 8, Brighton. It's weird with Brighton, because they haven't got the best players in the world. You know, it's hard to... I mean, obviously, you Brighton fans will fucking pinpoint someone out, but from, like, from a neutral perspective, I can't picture anyone in that Brighton team at all who is, like, at the top of their game right now. But I reckon there'll be a lot of team goals. You know, they'll be passing around, like, you know, they'll be in the midfield, pass it to defence, and then pass it around there for a bit, go into the midfield again, pass it around there a little bit, get the defence to get lured into them, and then that's when they start going the attack. I reckon that's the kind of team Brighton will end up being at the start of the season, and throughout, really. I think Brighton... The thing with Brighton is they work really well as a team. You know, you got players like, you know, De Bruyne, for example, or Haaland, or Cole Palmer. They're just like, they're in a league of their own. Whereas Brighton, they're all in a league, like, all together. Yeah, there'll be many team goals from Brighton, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the top 10, like the top half of the table. So yeah, Brighton 8th. Cushy. 7, Spurs. Spurs in 7th. Heung-min Son, world class. Like, you can't even argue with that. But it's the complete opposite to Brighton. Spurs have like 1 or 2 top class players, and the rest of the team are just two under their league, if you know what I mean. Brighton, who I predicted a one position lower, their class as a collective. Spurs have, I say, 2 world class players, right? Heung-min Son be one of them, and I think you will find out that one when the season happens. It's hard to deduce. That's a big word for me. Deduce who will be the second top class player. Kulusevski could be one of them, but he might be one of them players who has like one good season and then just flops. It's like Patrick Bamford in like the 2019-20, or was it 2020-21? When Leeds first got promoted back in the end of 2019 season or whenever it was. Well, true Leeds fan I am. But yeah, the first Premier League season in COVID, when there was no fans, Bamford was unstoppable. He was a machine. You know, he was scoring hat-tricks here and there. He was just scoring like pretty much every game he played in. And then season after, he just becomes like a massive flop. So I think that's when Kulusevski might be one of them for Spurs this season round. You know, he was decent last season. Next season, or the season coming up, maybe not so well. But yeah, like I said, I think Spurs might have that one player who isn't good, or wasn't good anyway, and then he'll have a quality season, and then he'll be a flop again. That's my point of view. Because there's always one, sometimes, in the Premier League, isn't there? 6th, I've got Crystal Palace. I mean, Eze is just fucking phenomenal. To say he's not in, like, the top best players in the Premier League as such, because when you think of Crystal Palace, you don't automatically think of world-class players. No disrespect to Palace players and fans, of course, as well. Obviously, Eze is up there. I can't think of any more off the top of my head, but I know Palace have at least 3 players who, just like Spurs, the rest of the team aren't very well. Very well. What? The rest of the team in Palace, along with Spurs, aren't the best. But there's always that 1 or 2 who are like just miles better above everyone else. So I think that's the sort of impacts that Crystal Palace will bring to the Premier League next season, where decent as a team, but they'll have them 2 players, or maybe even 3, who are just, you just can't take your eyes off them when they get the ball, put it that way. 5th, I've got Liverpool. Came 3rd last season. I wanted them to win it just because of Klopp. I mean, it'd be a nice send-off for him, wouldn't it? But knowing what he's given to the Liverpool team and players and fans over the years, you know, he's given them a Premier League title. It's been a long time since they did win it before, and it might take a little while now for him to win it again. But but yeah, it's hard to judge because they got a new manager in. What's his name? Like Acne something. Named after a skin condition. But yeah, it's hard to judge with Liverpool, but they've got all the players are pretty much world class, are there? There's definitely like 2 or 3 who are just not quite up to standards yet, but when you got the likes of Mo Salah, McAllister, Diaz, Van Dijk, Alisson, just to name a few. I mean, when you got those sort of players in your starting 11, which is like nearly half the squad, so you don't really need to have any more world-class players when you got them lot. Unlike, you know, like I said with Brighton or Spurs, you know, they've got like an average team, but then they'll have that 1 player or 2 players who are just up there, you know, but yeah, I would not be surprised if Salah was the Golden Boot winner. I mean, it's hard to say that now, but in fucking May. Yeah, I think Salah might be up there as well with one of the top goal scorers. 4th, I've got Newcastle. Newcastle, they are getting really good in the Prem now. They've had, like, a few seasons ago, they weren't at their best, but they're at that stage where they can be, if they wanted to. Again, they've got some crucial goal scorers like Gordon and Isaac. But I think Newcastle are going to be very critical on goal. All it will take is just 1 through ball, and then Isaac or Gordon will be through on goal and then slotted, like, no hesitation, no doubt at all either. So yeah, Newcastle 4th. 3rd, I've got Chelsea. Now, this might be really controversial, given they've only got Palmer, but shall I jinx it? Oh, sod it. I think Nicholas Jackson will definitely improve this season. He had a ropey season previously. I mean, he had some goal-scoring chances. Like, he had some golden opportunities to get a goal for himself and for the team. And he's missed sitters here and there, and that's cost Chelsea some points. So I reckon throughout this summer, Jackson will definitely... I reckon he'll do a lot of shooting sessions this summer. So yeah, I reckon Jackson will be. Will make a massive improvement compared to last season. I will not be surprised either if Cole Palmer was was in the top 5 top goal scorers along with Vardy and Haaland. Don't judge me, it's fucking May. Second, I've put City. Will this be the time when their charges come into play? Will they get a point deduction this season? They might do. I mean, they're just so fucking boring. I do not want them to win it a 5th time. I don't even think even Man City fans want them to win it for a 5th time in a row. You know what I mean? Because it's just how they play. Like, Man City remind me of, like, them kids at school. They literally play, like, year 11s v year 7s at school. And the year 11s just hogging the ball. They don't want to lose the ball whatsoever because they don't want to embarrass themselves. So all they do is just hog the ball. They play like fucking div rival players on FIFA. They're too hesitant to lose the ball. They're too scared to lose the ball in case... You know, it's like they lose the ball and then they're getting sacked at the end of the day. It's like Guardiola. He's so like... He plays every week, or every game, as if his life depends on it. There was this one game, I can't remember who it was against, because I didn't care really, but... Because it was Man City. There was a point where Foden lost the ball. Premier League player of the season, by the way. Phil Foden lost the ball in a position where a lot of other players will lose the ball, you know. And Guardiola goes off his fucking head. Guardiola goes on a fucking touchline tantrum over Foden losing the ball. It's like, grow up, mate. You're Man City, for fuck's sake. You'll get it back. Bloody Nora. Guardiola's ego really gets on my tits. You know what I mean? And top, if you haven't sussed out, it's Arsenal. I highly believe that this season is theirs. Twice they've come second in the Premier League and they lost it just because of City. I reckon now Arsenal will get their revenge. I think Arsenal will get the most goals throughout any Premier League team this season. You know, they've had a lot of games in like it was like February time, March time, where they were winning 5-0, 6-0, 4-0, 5-1. You know, those sort of scores. The highest scoring team throughout next season will be Arsenal. So this is my table. No beer pong involved, unlike last season. So it looks a bit more natural now. So what do you think? I mean, it's hard to judge now. I mean, you can't say that fucking City will be relegated. I don't fucking know. What am I talking about? So yeah, thanks for watching, and see you in May next year when I react appallingly to these results.